Hello, welcome to Sandy Ainley. I hope each one of you are well and happy and content within each one of you. Please God for each one of you, so to speak. Welcome back again, and today I've decided I'm going to do a vlog on the subject of Queen Elizabeth, the late Queen Elizabeth II, to be more precise. And the last vlog I recorded was, I think, on subject of Harry, or one might say Prince Harry. I don't know now whether Harry is Harry or Prince Harry anymore. The whole caboodle is very confusing for me personally. One moment there's a Prince Andrew, then Andrew's not Prince Andrew, and whatever. I mean, I just don't take too much notice. I mean, to me, it's just a name, and if they lose a title, or one doesn't, or one does, and then it change. I don't know. I can't be bothered with it. So, on the subject of the beautiful late Queen, I have mixed emotion on subject of the lady. I didn't know the Queen, the late Queen, whatsoever. So anything I say on subject of the Queen on this vlog, I really can't be sure on subject of, as a result of the fact that the Queen and I had nothing to do with each other, apart from the fact that the Queen was the Queen of this country and I live in this country of Great Britain. And so that's not much, is it, really? So please understand, and please forgive me if I'm incorrect on subject of any of the information in this vlog concerning Queen Elizabeth II. My belief is that the lady certainly seemed to be a pleasant human being, intelligent, and a very noble and committed queen. And I do believe that the lady was very much a diplomat in life, a born diplomat probably. Otherwise, I don't think the lady would have been able to keep that going, that diplomacy going throughout the reign of Queen. And when it comes to being a born diplomat, as I put it earlier, it comes with its negatives and its positives, in my opinion. Let's do the negative first so that I can elaborate much more on the positives of what I feel or think or whatever on the subject of the late Queen. When there's a lot of diplomacy in a parent, my imagination on subject of the Queen says this much, that were the problems, like in any family there's going to be probably a problem at least, were they sorted out, were they resolved, were they discussed, were they analysed, were they prioritised? And the reason I ask these questions is as a result of the fact that if the Queen showed the same diplomatic attitude with the children with her children, with the Queen's children, then I'm not certain if that's a positive element, because children as adults, growing into adults, I mean, need to understand what's happening, what's taking place in their lives. And if the mother is completely diplomatic all the time, I question whether that would have been positive for the Queen's children. I make a pretty good assumption that if that was the case, and that the Queen was totally and eternally diplomatic, or even with her children, I guess that there might have been an element of sweeping problems under the carpet. And if I'm correct in that manner, then it's not necessarily a healthy element for the children to grow up in that type of atmosphere where problems are swept aside. Because what happens if problems are swept aside is that later on in the children's lives, problems arise, additional problems arise. But I don't have a degree in psychology. I'm very good with psychology. I have a deep insight into a lot of psychology, because I've had to, as a result of the fact that I've had and have my own deep concerns. And so I've had to understand has taken place and is taking place, and hopefully shall take place in my life in the future, as life is precious and it's nice to live, for me anyway, even though I have my low moments. Going back to the late Queen, I personally looked up to the Queen. I loved the whole public persona, one might say. I think one can put it in such a manner, of the late Queen. And I don't know what the lady was really like as a parent, but I know quite a bit on the subject of what the lady was like as a queen. And I think and know that the Queen was a perfect candidate, if one can put it in such a manner, as Queen. So now that I've spoken on the subject of the matter with the diplomacy, and that it can be occasionally can be quite unhealthy, maybe if it's all the time diplomacy. On a positive note, I've said some of it already. However, there's a lot more, and it outweighs any negativity there may be. And please don't forget that I'm not criticising. I didn't know enough detail and don't know enough detail to be certain on the subject of any of this. So I can only base it on speculation. Hopefully I'm making a good speculation, a good assumption. However, equally so, I could be wrong. And even if I'm correct, nobody's perfect. We are human. Each one of us are human. We are a human being. Each one of us. So if I say that the Queen may have swept problems under the carpet, for example, like I said earlier, I'm not criticising the lady. I'm just saying that anything so-called overdone is not good. I'm also saying that sometimes what might seem to be the truth may not necessarily be the truth. And very often things can get twisted and turned and misconstrued, and see, things are not as they seem a lot of the time. When I say things, I mean people, a person, situation is not always as it seems. And that's something very important in my life, that saying. In my own world, I've had situation after situation after situation after situation after situation twisted, and I was at the receiving end of that twisting, and I used to feel pain and anger and even hatred, okay, on occasion. And I've had to learn to understand and to have insight into each person that twisted whatever it was on subject of myself, twisting the truth. And I've had to learn that, I'll give you one example. There's a religious Jewish lady, a strong practicing Jewish lady, who had no understanding at all on subject of my relationship with my late father. And after my late father had passed away, I rang up this lady and I said, hello, or whatever. And then I said, before my late father passed away, I forgave my late father for something that had taken place many years ago. And the lady said, did your late father forgive you? And after that phone call, I felt so much anger. In fact, so much so that I didn't want to confront the lady face to face on the subject. So I wrote to the lady. And forgive me if I'm incorrect, please, the lady didn't bother to write back to me. And in fact, next time I saw the lady looked at me and said, hello, as if nothing had taken place. And so on this one occasion, which perhaps I'm not so proud of, I said hello in a very, very cold manner. And I think the lady sensed it. And the manner in which I look at this situation is the lady didn't know what she was talking about. I mean, not at all. And I felt and think that the lady is enclosed in this Jewish world of religiousness, of strong practicing Jewish, whichever word you're saying you prefer. And in my opinion, not in each case of a strong practicing Jewish family, in this case, there's, in my opinion, a lot of hypocrisy. And as I said, the lady is in her own little world. And there's an interesting concept in the Jewish religion which may explain the part of the reason as to why the lady commented to me in that manner. That in the 10 Commandments, one of the commandments is honour thy parents. And I have quite a cynical view on that saying, because I believe in honour thy children. I had a very kind late father. However, nothing in life, no relationship can be superhuman and ideal and perfect. Sorry, I have to charge my iPad. Bear with me, please. I have to move it a bit. Okay, thank you. So, yes, so no relationship is perfect. And I did have a misunderstanding when I was a child with my late father. And it was resolved. And 2 days before my late father passed away, I had a perfect opportunity to say, "Puppy," as I used to name my father as, "I forgive you, and you're going to be going to heaven, and I love you, and I honour you, and I commend you, and I'll always love you, dead or alive. And I repeat, I've forgiven you." And that was a precious moment between my late father and myself. So nothing to do with that lady. It was partly my responsibility for sharing anything like that to the lady. And this 10 Commandment believes, honour thy children, thy parents. And they mean more or less under any circumstance. So if something like, for example, a parent has been physically abusive, then obviously one's not to abide by honour thy parents. But in a so-called average family where a parent's going to make a little bit of a mistake, then forgiveness and honouring thy parent is crucial. I hope I'm making sense. In the case of this family, they have got no idea of what the issue was at the time, and basing upon some kind of assumption, of course, or basically an assumption, said, "Well, did your late father forgive you?" Because of the ignorance of whatever it was that was inside that lady's brain at the time. Sorry, I'm discussing the lady only and me. So I put it down to ignorance on the part of the lady. And if you're watching, I think you'll know who you are. And I'd like you to know that I'm not angry now, because I understand that you just don't know what you're talking about. And I think you'll know who I'm discussing, because there's only one time that I've had this experience. And I have to change my behaviour by next time not trying to share it with someone who I don't know properly. Going back to the late Queen, the late Queen honoured the country, in my opinion. This country, Great Britain. In fact, honoured life and the world, in my eyes. And for that reason, certainly that's how it seems. Again, I repeat, things aren't always as they seem. However, in the case of the late Queen Elizabeth II, I really had and have a soft spot for the lady and the memory of the lady. I've often been described as someone who speaks the Queen's English. So for those of you who've said that, then thank you very much indeed. I'm very proud. If I speak the Queen's English, then thank you. And if I can remember the Queen in the lovely, positive manner which I like to think the Queen was like, then again, thank you to life. I miss the lady. Do you? I just think, I feel sad. I feel that it was hard for the Queen before passing away. What an awful time it was, losing Philippe, as the Queen used to say, and then the abominable situation with Prince Andrew, and then the situation with Harry and Meghan. And I think the Queen has continued with this diplomacy business. And I really admire that. Because it was the Queen's family, not my family, not everybody's family, except the Queen's family. And it was the business of the Queen's family. Apart from, of course, with Andrew, which was more extreme. It was to do with breaking the law and the sexual aspect. And so if Andrew was guilty of that, then of course it's the business of the girls who were then raped or, well, yeah, had underage sex or whatever it was that took place, or may have not taken place. I don't know. Again, I don't know. I have my suspicion of what I think's the truth, but I don't know for sure. But I'm pretty sure. Pretty sure. So, the lady Queen Elizabeth the late second, the late Queen Elizabeth II, got it, showed nobility more than ever just before death, and was consistent in her diplomacy. And I shall end this vlog saying, let's spend 1 minute in silence just to think of the late Queen Elizabeth II, please, in love and fondness, if we may. On a change of mind basis, I am going to talk more. I so wish to say that I felt a deep sense of sadness thinking of the late Queen Elizabeth II, because I think towards the end of the lady's life, it must have been very hard and very lonely. And that's why I wanted to have some silence for a minute. And thank you for that. Thank you for allowing me to be quiet for a minute. And may the sweet, blessed lady rest in peace. And probably it's a better place for the lady, you know. And God bless. And one point I do wish to make in addition is that I've toughened up since my late father passed away. I've learned that death is part of life. And I've learned that one's to be grateful for each day that one wakes up alive in bed. That's nice, wakes up alive. That each day that one wakes up, one's to be grateful for life, if one can be. One tip I may give some of you which may not have known this. How about the idea of being grateful for what one does have? For example, before I recorded this vlog, I thought to myself, shall I wear some red lipstick to look pretty? Okay, maybe it would have made me look prettier, so to speak. However, I couldn't be bothered. So I was criticising myself for being lazy. And what I could have done is looked at my clothing on screen and thought, well, I look pretty well dressed, in my opinion, of nicely dressed. And who am I trying to prove it to? What am I trying to prove? Yes, it's nice to wear makeup sometimes for me. And it would have been probably nice to wear some red lipstick. But are you going to judge me? Are you going to not subscribe to my channel? Are you going to think, oh, look at that ugly lady with no lipstick on? Are you? Because if you are, then I don't need you to be a part of my life in this sense. Because in the scheme of things, what's important in life? And if I'm going to be judged because I don't wear lipstick, then so be it. I do think that I'd like to give some very positive information today. I have been in touch with 2 companies to do with my hip. My left hip is finally going to be x-rayed and checked completely. And I shall probably have a new lease of life. I shall probably have a left hip replacement again. I'm so excited. And I'm looking forward to this year having a hip operation, please God, for me. And being able to walk as much as anybody else around the shopping centres, around the restaurants, around the social events. And I wish to say that my life has been sometimes pretty miserable as a result of my lack of mobility sometimes. So here's an example of me being grateful for what I have. I'm so thankful, I'm so pleased. And that's one of the reasons I dressed in this manner when I got up today. I knew that I was going to be positive today. It was in my gut from the moment I woke up this morning. So on that happy note, now I am going to bid you good night, or good day, or good evening, depending on where each one of you are. Please take care. Please take care of each other. And please like and subscribe. Just pop your finger on the link below, I think one says. I need 50 subscribers in order for me to be able to do a live performance. So please, just to help me out, click on the link below, so to speak, for me, so that I can start to build up my channel. a bit more, hopefully a lot more. I would love that. I would appreciate that. And I would work hard to make my channel better so that I can be a good positive element to YouTube and my YouTube channel, to be specific, or to be more specific. So thank you again, and please look after one another. And again, I'm going to say no Hebrew word for goodbye this time. I'm going to say it in the British language. Please look after yourself. Lots of love. Bye-bye.